Come on. What about the tape? Look. You want a toy? Come on, let's cover up so we can tape. Okay, well, let me tape. Come on. We're running out of time. Okay, you know what? Get in your bed. Come on. You can see Blippi. It can't be playing in the background because it'll take down my video. What's up, Delle Dolls? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time here, welcome, welcome, welcome. If it's not your first time, then you already know I'm glad to see your beautiful face. Today is a different setup. I am in my son's room. I was getting him ready for bed, and he just does not want to go to sleep. Quarantine life, okay? And I mean, he's been doing pretty good up until like recently, but yeah, like he's just been doing a little bit too much for me lately. So we're gonna see how this all pans out. Now, today, like I said, is going to be a story time. And a couple months ago on my Instagram, I had put up a poll asking you guys what you wanted me to talk about. And a lot of you guys said that you wanted me to share my pregnancy story, like kind of how it all happened and all that kind of stuff. I'm not really gonna get too much into the labor and stuff like that, but I'm just gonna share with you guys how it went down for me. So, you know, we have to bring the the guest of the hour. He wants to tell his side of the story, right? And that's on period, right? Hopefully he's calm. But yeah, we're gonna talk about how I got this little guy right here. So get comfortable. You already know that I'm just gonna give it to you straight. So I was dating my son's father. If you saw my how I broke up with my ex-fiance, how I met and broke up with my ex-fiance video, you'll know like I started dating him, my son's father, not too long after my ex-fiance and I broke up. So we were kind of casual at first. It was nothing serious, just casual dating. And then we did get into a more serious relationship kind of situation. You know, it was really like a serious relationship, but I'm going to be real. Most of the time it felt like a situationship because he wasn't straightforward about his intentions. He wasn't straightforward about the kind of life he was living either. Whether he was messing with other women or not, I have a feeling he was. But yeah, I'm gonna get to that in a second. So I started dating him like July 2014, was it? Yeah, July 2014. And like I said, it started casual. We met online, ended up meeting up at the National Harbor in Oxon Hill, Maryland, and hung out, hit it off, you know, and that kind of started everything off. So he is, and this is when I was still living in the DMV, obviously, but he is part of a go-go band, a very popular go-go band in the DC area. And I'm not going to say the name because once I say it, everyone's going to pretty much know who I'm talking about. But it's a very popular band. They still make music, they still tour, they still play and perform and all of that. And for those of you who aren't familiar with go-go, go-go is like everything in DC. Go-go is like what trap music is to ATL. That's what go-go is to DC people. Like it originated in DC. It's a big deal. There's so many different types of go-go, but yeah, Chuck Brown is the one that introduced that whole thing. So people take it serious in DC. And go-go bandmates and band, you know, members are like local celebrities in the DMV. So everybody knows you know, if you're with one, it's kind of like being with a celebrity basically. And that's what he was, you know, again, typical groupies in his phone, I'm sure, and stuff like that. I have an idea of some things, but nothing concrete to say like, oh, he cheated or he did this or he did that. But knowing that kind of lifestyle, and I've dated a few musicians, it's like, you just know that groupies are always in their phone. You know, they always have women at their disposal and stuff like that. So I'm sure he was doing his own thing, but nevertheless, we dated, and like I said, it wasn't too serious for a while. And then after a while, it got serious because I kind of got to a point where I was like, what are we doing? Like, you know, I really have strong feelings for you, and I feel like we're just kind of going with the flow a little too much for me, and I need some clarity. And so one day I just sent him like this long video message, basically telling him like, look, this is how I feel. And that's why I said in a couple videos back, like, for me, ladies, it never works out, and I strongly believe that it's just not in a man's nature for you to have to take the lead. Like, once a man is letting you take the lead, he's not feeling you like that. Like, I just have not seen any man that's really in love with me and really taking me serious allow me to take the lead. So I basically had to take the lead in that for him to get serious. Where are you going? And he wants me to turn up the TV. If I turn it up, I'm gonna get a copyright infringement. But he's like, I don't care about no copyright. I'm almost done, okay? It's gonna be a short story. We telling the story about you. we telling the story about you. But yeah, so once you have to take the lead, ladies, like it's a red flag. Just run. It's a no for me. It's never a good look. And that's basically how we ended up getting more serious, because after that video message and me practically cornering him, like, give me an answer type of thing, we got more serious. He was like, yeah, I do, you know, have feelings for you and this and that. But he's one of those types that he doesn't like to just say it. Like, he gotta be all hardcore and all that extra stuff. So that was what it was. Now, throughout the course of our relationship, I was kind of conflicted. Like, I pretty much knew that he wasn't gonna be my forever. Like, my ex-fiance and I were still friends at this point, and we were kind of talking back and forth about, like, yeah, what if we had given it another shot and that kind of thing, but nothing materialized. So I was basically focusing on my son's father, and, you know, like I said, it just wasn't really going anywhere. Fast forward to when I got pregnant, February 2016. At this point, I had already had the heart-to-heart with him. I'd already told him, like, look, I need more dedication and stuff like that. And so he started taking it more serious and started putting in a little bit more effort, but still, it wasn't like I could really bet a future on it. And at this point, he had met my mom, and y'all already know how my mom gets down from my ex cheated video. You know, she just wasn't really feeling him, because my son's father is very, like, he's a know-it-all kind of type, you know, so he has a really weird sense of humor too. So I don't know if he necessarily was just doing that because for him that would be funny to see you get agitated, or if he always was on some, like, I know it all type stuff. He's that type of person. He's a scientist by trade, you know, very smart guy, biologist or chemist, I think, by trade, but he's in the go-go band now and doing his own thing, and kind of got into that whole fast life, you know, like that whole thing, you know, with all that and all that it comes with. You guys can fill in the blanks. I don't want to get too much into it before YouTube takes this video down. But yeah, he got into that, and, you know, great family background. His family background is actually in Georgia, so it's hilarious that I live here now. But, you know, nevertheless, yeah, so my mom had met him, and at this point I was like, I don't know. But February, you know, I got pregnant. Now, how I found out I got pregnant was really just random, because at this point I had just started freelancing, as far as, like, actually getting freelance jobs and doing Uber and Lyft. My son's father was actually the one to introduce me to Uber and Lyft, and he was like, yeah, you can make this much money, it's flexible, this, that. So I was grinding, making money, because once I saw how much money I was making in the DC area then, because at this point it was still pretty, like, newish. Like, a lot of people weren't doing it like how they do it now, and especially, you know, up there. Like, I still think I would have made better money up there than down here, but that's another story. I was just grinding. I was out, like, hours and hours and hours, and then I would, like, get other freelance jobs in between, and then go back to Uber and Lyft, and then go back to a job, and, you know, hang out with my friends and stuff. So I remember, like, the whole month of February passed, and I remember I didn't get my period, and I'm just like, you know, March hits, and I'm like, I just realized I didn't get a period in February. Like, that's really weird. And granted, I'm always kind of irregular, you know, so it never really comes on the exact same day every month. Sometimes it comes a little late, sometimes it comes a little early, but I always get one, you know, within, I would say, like a 35, 36 day span. I always get one. So I'm like, okay, we're in the first week of March, haven't got a period yet. What's going on? So I let it ride out, because I'm like, you know, I'm Googling now, and people are saying, like, you know, it could take an extra 2 weeks or so on and so forth. So I'm like, let me wait and see what happens. So still grinding with Lyft, still grinding with Uber. Me and my son's father are meeting up for lunch in between our Uber shifts. He's like, yeah, where you at? I'm like, oh, I'm over here. He's like, okay, meet me over at Arundel Mills or whatever. And we just hang out in between working and chatting with each other and stuff. And I remember one day we went to Dunkin' Donuts. We both went offline. We went to Dunkin' Donuts and Chipotle. And I just was feeling so tired. Like, I'm not the type of person that gets, like, even when I'm tired throughout the day, I still push through and get the job done, especially when you're working, like, as a freelancer. And now, if I was working an office job, it's a different thing. Once you get tired, you're tired. But being on your feet all the time, it's like I could push through the exhaustion and just keep going. But this time around, I was feeling very weary. I was like, I'm so tired. Like, I really got to take a nap. And I'm not much of a napper. If I nap, you know I'm tired, for real. And I remember telling him that, and then I just felt bloated. Like, I was exercising at this point. I had already lost like a good 20 pounds because a couple months before, my family and I went on a cruise, and I was like, I want to make sure, like, in November, this was March 2016, November into December of 2015, we went on a cruise. So I was working out hard leading up to that cruise so I could be snatched. And I lost like 15, 20 pounds. And I just remember feeling very big. Like I was just gaining weight and I wasn't eating a ton. My habits didn't really change like that. Like, yeah, I was working more, but I was actually eating less, drinking more water and stuff, but eating less. And I remember telling him, like, I'm just gaining weight. Like my clothes are getting tight. You know, I'm feeling tired and stuff like that. He was like, well, maybe you're just working too hard. You know, it is what it is. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right. Because at this point, I felt like I couldn't get pregnant. Because mind you, with my ex-fiance, I'm just going to keep it real. We weren't using protection at all. And, you know, never got pregnant. And we were together for like 2 years almost. So I just thought, okay, maybe I can't get pregnant. You know, it is what it is. But nah, like I definitely was, you know. So fast forward, it was like, I think the second week in March, after my son's father and I had that outing, and I told him I was tired all the time and kind of just gaining weight and stuff. And I told him, I was like, I still haven't gotten my period. And he was like, okay, well, go to the clinic and let me know, or whatever. So I go to patient first. I would never go there again. Like, urgent care is terrible to get a pregnancy test. I went there, paid $75 for them to take a blood test, for them to tell me that I'm not pregnant because it's probably just I'm overworked, or because my work schedule has changed. You know, my body might not have gotten my period yet or whatever. So I'm like, okay, that's weird. I just took their word for it. I told him what they said, and he was like, okay, cool, you know, and just went on about his business. But I was like, nah, like a woman knows her body. So I still kept watching. Eventually I was like, I gotta get a pregnancy test. So I went to the dollar store. I got like 3 pregnancy test boxes or whatever. So I think altogether it was like 6 tests or something. It was something like that, but either way, I got a couple tests. And I remember that night after I went to, no, it was the next night after the urgent care night, I went home and I took the test. The first test came out negative. So I was like, okay, you know, so I waited until the next day, because the boxes on the pregnancy test always say it's best to take it like early in the morning when the HCG levels are highest or whatever. And so I waited till the next day. I took the test again, another test. And it came out with a very, very, very faint, like double line. Like you could barely see it. You had to squint. So I was like, are my eyes playing tricks on me, or is this really it? So I took another test that night, and it came out more positive, but still was very faint. And this is like, at this point, 3 days after the urgent care thing. So I'm just like, I think I'm pregnant, you know, like, cause I had never seen a positive test. So I'm like, nah, like, I really think it is. Like, even though I could barely see the line, I was like, I really think I'm pregnant. So I took a picture of the test. I sent my son's father the picture, and he was just like, okay, like, you know, I sent it to him, and that's all he could say. So I'm like, all you have to say is okay. So he calls me on the video chat app that we used to use or whatever, and he's just like, I mean, well, it was like a phone call on the app. It wasn't like us face to face, but nevertheless, he was like, I mean, I don't really know what to tell you. Like, I'm barely seeing you as it is. You live in Virginia, I live in Maryland. We barely get to really spend time together as it is. I got my own life. I don't really want kids, you know. I ain't got that many years left, because my son's father has this weird thing about how he's gonna die at the age of 60. He's 12 years older than me, mind you. So I'm 31, he's 43. But you know, back then, obviously I was like 27 and he was 39 or whatever, but he had this weird thing like, oh, I only got 20 more years left. I'm gonna die when I'm 60. And just, I don't know, he's just weird. Like, he just had that thing. So I'm like, you don't know when you're gonna pass, first of all. And secondly, like, how are you just gonna deny your seed? Like, that was so traumatizing for me. So the way he responded was basically just on some, like, you're on your own. Like, I might help you take care of the child, but honestly, I can't promise anything. So I'm crying at this point, because I never imagined myself being a single mother. Like, ladies, it is so important. That's why I always stress to you guys whenever I tell these story times, to vet who you're dating, especially the young ladies that watch me. Vet who you're dating and make sure who you're with is someone that really will step up to the occasion. And honestly, it's better for you to wait for the ring. Like, I know people be like, oh, marriage doesn't guarantee anything, you can still get divorced, but it's better for you to be married in holy matrimony and to actually like go into it thinking, okay, we're going to raise a family. No one gets married thinking I'm going to get divorced. And to have that 2-parent household than to be out here as a single mother. Like, single mothers, yes, I'm not coming for you because I am one. We can raise successful, healthy children, but at the end of the day, it's just better to have that 2-parent household, you know. And marriage it provides a level of security and protection and a family unit that you're not always guaranteed outside of marriage. So nevertheless, his whole response was stank, and I was just super, super traumatized. You know, at that point, he was just like, I mean, you should be glad that I'm even having this conversation with you, asking you what you want to do, or like listening to you say what you are thinking about doing, because if this was back in the day, I would force you to have an abortion type of stuff. you know, and according to him, he's forced other women to do so. I honestly think he could have other kids out there that he doesn't know about, and the women probably just told him that they got an abortion, but that's neither here nor there. I don't have any proof. And the sucky part about it is that I didn't know his mom, you know, so I have an idea of like her name and stuff, but I don't know his mom like that. And that's why I'm so adamant about like when I date someone, meeting their family, because I don't know anybody on his side of the family besides him and like his mom's name and stuff. I don't know details. So it's not even like I have recourse to say like, okay, let me go show up at her house or something like that. Like I really was on my own. So once he gave me that response, you guys already know, I called my ex-fiance, he comforted me, called some other close friends of mine who are also single parents and were able to just give me some insight and, you know, just pray with me and encourage me and stuff like that. And so the next day I remember I told my mom, and at first I texted my brother, he was shocked. Then he was like, yeah, you gotta tell mom. So I told my mom and I just blurted it out. I hate when people hit you with the, we gotta talk. So I'm like, I'm just gonna shoot it straight, you know? So I came out my room and, oh, you know what? I forgot to mention the next day after I told, cause after I went to urgent care, I went to my OBGYN and, my like primary care physician, I should say, because at this point I didn't have an OBGYN. So the next day after patient first, I went to my primary care physician and I got tested. So the same time that I took the pregnancy test and got the positive, my primary care physician had gotten my blood test results and my urine test results back. So that day after I talked to my son's father and he was being a jerk, and my brother was like, you got to tell mom, my doctor called me that same morning and was like, you are 6.5, 7 weeks pregnant. So at that point I was like, oh, okay. So the pregnancy test I saw last night was accurate, even though it was a very faint line, it was accurate. And then I told my brother what the doctor said in the pregnancy test and what his father said and all that. And he was like, yeah, you got to tell mom. So I walked out of my room and my mom was in the kitchen in our old apartment. And I was like, mom, I'm pregnant. Like I just blurted it out. My mom's face was like, what? I was like, I'm pregnant. Like, and I was like, sit down, you know. She was just like, what the bleep do you mean pregnant? And this and that, the third. She was like, you know, what do you want to do? Like this, that, the third. And I'm just like, I'm gonna keep it. Like, yeah, I know some people are like, oh, you should get an abortion because your life is in its prime right now and this and that. But I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm not going to kill my child, you know, and I'm not judging anybody who might have had an abortion. I really sympathize with you because it's not an easy thing to do from what I've researched and what I've seen. And personally, I don't believe in it. I'm not judging you for your own beliefs, but I personally don't believe in it. And I was like, I'm not going to take my son's or my child's life, you know, because I don't even know if I'll have any more children in the future. And I've always wanted to be a mom. Like, yes, the situation wasn't ideal, but I always wanted to be a mom. So after I told my mom that, I was like, I'm gonna keep the child and I just got to figure out things now. Because like I said, I had just started freelancing at this point. So I didn't have insurance anymore for my old job because I had that insurance for an extra 6 months after I left. I didn't have, you know, a steady income where I could say like, I'm going to make this amount of money every 2 weeks. Because freelancing, it's unpredictable. It's up and down. Like you set your own goals and you strive for it. Sometimes you surpass it. Sometimes you don't meet it. But in the end, it kind of balances out once everything's working out and you're able to make it to jobs and stuff. But it's not secure. Like even now with everything going on, I'm not working on a lot of different jobs that I'll be working on. So my money is extremely limited, extremely, like, you know, but at the end of the day, it's for the people that have the grit to do it. And back then I was able to do it. So I was like, you know I can make money to support the child's needs, but as far as health insurance and stuff, I'm not going to be at this point in my freelance career, I'm not going to make enough to do that. So I went, got Medicaid, got on, food stamps, and I got on WIC and stuff like that. And I just remember going to the office and being so embarrassed because, you know, there I am, a statistic. That's all I could think about, and how my son's father reacted and everything. It's like, I'm literally a living statistic right now. I'm a single Black mother in the welfare office, social services office, signing up for WIC and SNAP and all this different stuff. And they're asking me if I want to go on Section 8 and stuff. Like, I literally felt like just a total failure. I was like, nobody would have seen this for me. I didn't even see it for myself. And, you know, just getting the stares when you're pregnant, going to the store and everyone's looking like, another single Black mother, you know, and stuff like that. It really took me a while to get to a point where I could share my story openly. And, you know, long story short, my pregnancy ended up being a high-risk pregnancy because at the time I was like I got pregnant in 2016. So like 2 years prior, I was diagnosed with diabetes, type 2 diabetes. And that's part of the reason why I went on this journey to lose weight and to eat healthier and all that, so I could lower my A1C and get out of that. So at this point, I was still considered diabetic, even though I was technically in the pre-diabetic range based on my A1C, but they treated me like a diabetic prior to pregnancy because I had that on my medical record. So me being high risk and other health issues that I have and stuff, you know, I was at the hospital a lot. You know, I was at the hospital a ton of times. At the beginning of my pregnancy, I used to go like once every 2 weeks to the doctor, to the OBGYN and stuff like that. And then second trimester, I went like once a week. And then the end of the second trimester, I started going towards the end of the second trimester into the third trimester, I started going twice a week. And every appointment would be like 2, 3, 4 hours long. You know, I would end up having to go to different doctors and stuff to get checked for different things and such and that kind of thing. So, you know, nevertheless, after I got acquainted and accustomed to the fact that I am going to be a single mother, it wasn't as hard for me to go to the doctor and get checked and deal with everything that came with that. So I ended up, my camera cut off. This phone is getting on my nerves. They said the Note 10 Plus was supposed to have so much storage, and it's just like every time I turn around I gotta clear off space, but I need to try to get a memory card. Anyways, like I was saying, my pregnancy was high risk because of the prior health issues, and I told you guys I was at the hospital starting out once every 2 weeks, and then second trimester was once a week, and then by the third trimester it was twice a week. My appointments were up to 4 hours long, anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, because I would go, they would hook me up to a machine, they would monitor Christian's movements for about an hour, sometimes up to an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes if he was being stubborn and not trying to move, because they wanted to make sure that he was healthy, because I had to take other medication for other health issues, and then they were noticing that it was making him grow at a slower rate. So they thought he would have been born and have to go in the NICU, because he was like 4 pounds, estimated to be about 4 pounds and a couple ounces up until like about a month and a half before I gave birth. Because at that point I started saying I'm just going to stop taking certain medication so he can grow and just, you know, take more natural routes to my health and for those remedies and things like that. And so they would monitor to make sure, like, okay, he's small, let's make sure he's still good in there and all of that. And then I would go and get a sonogram after being monitored for up to an hour and 45 minutes. I would get a sonogram for about another 45 minutes, sometimes another hour and some change, depending again if he was being stubborn and not trying to move, because they were trying to make sure that he had all his body parts and that there was nothing going on. I had to go to a fetal cardiologist to make sure that he was good, because they thought that he might have had a potential, like just from the sonogram, they thought he might have had a potential hole in his heart. So I had to go to the fetal cardiologist. I had to go obviously to OBGYN. I had to go to the high risk clinic. That's where I would get those 4 hour appointments. And then I had to go to another doctor that I'm forgetting about. But it was like 4 doctors I had to rotate between when I was pregnant. And I remember when I found out he was a boy, everyone was like, oh, you're gonna have a girl, you're gonna have a girl. Because I'm a girly girl. Like, I have my tomboyish ways, but for the most part, I'm a girly girl. I love dresses. I'm not a huge fan of heels, surprisingly, but I will put on a pair of heels. And even when I'm wearing like athletic wear, I like it to be girly and cute. You know, like I just like to look really girly. I love makeup, as you guys can tell. I love doing my hair. So everyone was like, oh yeah, you're gonna have a girl, because y'all gonna be dressed like twins and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, I don't know, we'll see. And then I was carrying so small. Like, I didn't really start showing in my pregnancy until I was about 27 weeks, like 26, 27 weeks or something. That's when I really started showing. Up until that point, people just thought I ate too much. They were like, girl, you're not pregnant, you're lying. I'm like, why would I lie about this and put myself through all this turmoil and stress to say I'm pregnant? Like, come on now. So I am really pregnant, I'm just not showing. And then I'm tall, you know, I'm 5'11", so the baby has a lot of room, and he was growing, like I said, very small, so he had a lot of room in there. I didn't really start showing until the latter half, but when I hit that like 7.5 month mark, he started sprouting up, because that's when I stopped taking the medication. And like I was saying though, because I'm rambling at this point, it's kind of late and he's knocked out, so I'm like, let me put him in his bed. That's what I keep thinking. But yeah, like I found out he was a boy. I remember my mom was in Guyana. I think my sister was with her too. Yeah, they went for my grandmom's death anniversary, like a celebration of life type of thing. And they also went for Guyana's first carnival, their official carnival and stuff like that. And I called my mom and I was like, yeah, I'm having a boy. And she was just like, another boy, because she got 2 grandsons already, my nephews. So she was looking forward to buying dresses and bows and little matching purses and stuff like that. But she was with me every step of the way. Like, that was the only part of my pregnancy that my mom wasn't with me at the doctor's appointment. I went to every appointment. Well, there were like 1 or 2 times I went to the field cardiologist, so she wasn't with me because at this point we didn't have a car anymore. Again, we've been having car struggles for years, y'all. Like, we just don't have good luck with cars, I'm telling you. But my insurance, my Medicaid insurance covered my rides to the doctor and stuff like that. And in Virginia, they would cover you to the store too, they said right before we moved. But nevertheless, sometimes I wouldn't let her come with me because even though they give you the rides, it's not the most efficient. Sometimes you can end up waiting a long time to get picked up and stuff. So I'm like, I don't want her out there. She's diabetic, you know, she can't be in the sun too long and all this kind of stuff because of her eyes. So I'm like, I don't want you out there just like sitting there waiting with me. Like, I'll just go by myself and I'll just wait. Oh, the endocrinologist. That's the other one I had to go to, the other doctor. So it was the fetal cardiologist, the endocrinologist, the OBGYN, the high-risk clinic. Those are the 4 doctors that I rotated between during my pregnancy. And so, but other than that, my mom was with me every step of the way. When I went to the high-risk clinic for those 4-hour long appointments and stuff, my mom was with me every single one. And she would buy me food because, you know, when you're pregnant, at least for me, like, my appetite, especially once I started cutting back on the medication so he can grow, my appetite went up. Because up until that point, I wasn't really eating like that. I wasn't that hungry. But I was like, I'm hungry, I want a snack. And my mom would be like, okay, we'll go buy me some food. And I gave birth to him on my appointments at the high-risk clinic. We're at Inova Fairfax in Falls Church, Virginia. And that's where I gave birth to him. And their food is pretty decent. For a hospital, their food is pretty decent. And they usually have food trucks out there and stuff. So my mom would buy me food. But yeah, like, my mom was my ace during that pregnancy. She was right there with me. I was induced. He was due November 4th. They let me induce him in November. At first, they were wanting me to induce him in October, and me being the petty Crocker that I can be. I was like, I don't want him to be induced in October. His dad's birthday is in October, you know? So once they saw him start growing, they're like, okay, you go push it back a week, but we're not going to let you go past the due date. So they let me push it back, and I was like, yes, we get to share a birthday month because I'm November and he's November 2nd. I'm November 28th. So I had to go in November 1st. I had to go in the day before I was induced. And I went in. My mom was a champ. Like, she cleaned the whole house because at this point we had moved to a townhome in Springfield that ended up having a mice infestation in the basement. Then that's where me and Christian were going to stay at, like our own little apartment. So I called Consumer Affairs. I managed to get our money back that we paid for rent and the deposit. And we had moved into another place. So in like a 2-month span between July and September, we had moved twice. We had lost another vehicle because we bought one from a family friend, and that was a piece of trash. So we ended up losing another vehicle, and we had moved twice. So the place that we moved to the second time, my mom cleaned it up, and her and my sister have really just helped me out a ton. Like, you know, it's hard being a single mother, don't get me wrong, because at the end of the day, his responsibility still falls on me and only me, because his dad hasn't been around since I told him I was pregnant. But, you know, they help a lot as far as like watching him when I go to work, and if I can't afford something, they chip in and that kind of stuff. So if I was doing it like alone, like no help, whoo, that would be hard, you know. So my little village is not big, but I'm grateful for them, and they really just help. So anyways, like I said, my mom cleaned the place with my sister. She went me to the hospital when I got induced. I checked in. They did let me eat. I technically wasn't supposed to, but I was like, I haven't eaten all day. So they're like, all right, you can get a meal from the kitchen, but keep it light. So I did get a meal. You know, the next morning they gave me the Pitocin, and I mean, it was smooth sailing. Like, honestly, my labor was very anticlimactic. Like, honestly, I spent most of the day watching Real Housewives of Atlanta. I was on Facebook taking pictures, talking about to give birth, you know. People were like, aren't you in labor? Why are you taking selfies? Why are you on Facebook Messenger? I was messaging everyone like, yeah, you know, I'm waiting to get dilated. They're like, girl, like, what in the world? This is the most calm, like, labor I've ever seen. But my water broke. So they started the Pitocin at like 9:45 a.m. on November 2nd. My water didn't break till about 1 p.m. That was literally from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. was the most like you know, activity and excitement as far as my labor is concerned. And that's only because I had to wait for the anesthesiologist to come and give me the epidural, because the labor and delivery unit was full. Every room was full. Everyone was giving birth when I gave birth. So he was sweating. He was running around room to room giving women epidural like crazy. So I had to wait an hour for him to come. That was the longest, most painful hour ever. I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know how women do this naturally. Power to you mamas who have done it naturally. Cause I was like, give me the drugs, you know, give me the epidural. So he came, he gave me the needle, and then I was just chilling. I took a nap. I woke up, watched some more Real Housewives of Atlanta. I was eating popsicles for days. They were like, you want a popsicle? I was like, yeah, give me another popsicle. I did throw up after I had like my third orange popsicle though. And I was so like embarrassed. And I was just like, no, it happens sometimes. Sometimes, you know, women just can't take it after all the medication and stuff. I was like, oh, okay. And then after that, around 7:20 p.m. they had me start pushing, because they were like, okay, you're dilated enough. And I pushed until, was it 7:20? No, it wasn't. I'm lying. It was around 8:20 I started pushing, and then he came out at 8:55 p.m. So I didn't push very long, you know, because I was already dilated before I got induced. I was dilated quite, like, I would say about 2 weeks before I went in for my appointment. So, you know, then he came out, and I remember I was motivated to push even harder because I saw his hair. Like, I remember when I used to go for sonograms all the time, they used to be like, oh my gosh, he's sucking his thumb, he's so cute, look at all his hair, this and that. I'm just like, y'all just trying to gas me up because, you know, like my situation, because they all knew, they would talk to me about it. Some of them were also single moms, so they would give me encouragement, the nurses and stuff. And so I'm like, y'all just trying to gas me up and get me in a good mood. You know, he's probably gonna be bald headed, like, because I've just never seen, like, I've seen babies with a lot of hair, but I don't know why I just thought my child would be bald headed. Like, I don't know. But I came out with a lot of hair. I don't know. But when I remember looking up at the light, I didn't opt to have a mirror because they asked me if I wanted the mirror to when I'm pushing, and I said no. But I remember looking up at the light as I was pushing, and I could see the reflection of all that was going on down there. And I remember seeing his hair just there, and I was like, oh my gosh, he does have a lot of hair. Like, I remember thinking that to myself, and then I just was like, all right, it's time to get him out of here. So I started pushing. My mom was holding my legs, wiping my sweat off, and then when he came out, the doctor was like, mama, you want to cut the umbilical cord? Talking to my mom. And mom was like, okay. So my mom cut his umbilical cord, and she held him for me after she caught him basically, and then she put him on my chest for like 2 minutes, you know, skin to skin. And I remember looking at him, and I was like, he looks so weird. Like, you know, newborn, it's like they're cute, but it's honestly a little scary. Like, they just, because they're just beaming into your eyes. It's like they just pierce into your soul. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I feel like he's looking into my entire existence right now. And I remember him being on my chest, and I was just like, oh, he's so little. And I didn't think I was gonna cry, you know, because so much had happened during the course of my pregnancy, and it was always just fighting fires and just trying to figure out how I'm gonna take care of this little life. But once I saw him and I got past like the alien eyes and stuff, once I looked at him, I was just like, I shed a couple tears. I'm not gonna lie, I shed a couple tears. And I was just like, man, this is like the most joyful moment right now. Everything I went through, the walking to the bus stop, the not having insurance, not knowing how I'm gonna be able to afford stuff, and like the long appointments twice a week and stuff, I will go through it all again for this little human. Like, it was just the best feeling ever. And he was the most well-behaved baby in the unit. Like, the nurses kept stopping in my room in the, like, when you go up to the I guess the after delivery room, I forgot what they called it, but they kept coming in my room because he was so quiet. They were like, are you good? Do you need anything? I was like, yeah, I'm good. He was just so quiet. Like, he was chilling. All other babies were screaming and hollering. Christian was chilling, all right? Chilling like a cucumber, cool as a cucumber. But nevertheless, that is my labor and delivery and pregnancy story. You know, is it hard being a single mother? Absolutely. Do I still have my days where I feel inadequate? Absolutely. There's a lot of days where I think, like, who's gonna want to marry me? Who's gonna want to be with me, you know, as a single mom? And like I said, I have other health issues that I still have. You know, they didn't go away with pregnancy or anything like that. Some things are better, like my diabetes and stuff now, thank God, it's like, you know, gone, even though they still count it as there. But, you know, I do have my days of doubt, but at the end of the day, I'm just so grateful for Christian, and I'm so grateful that he's in my life. Like, I honestly cannot imagine my life without him. Like, he just adds so much zest to my life. As much as he can get on my last nerve, he adds a lot of zest. And looking in his eyes is just like, you know, I feel for him. I feel that he doesn't have his dad around, and, you know, who knows what God has in store if he would get another daddy in the form of a stepdad or whatever, but it really hurts me. It really hurts me to the core that someone could have a child and not care about them. But it's so funny because, like, my son's father has been caught lurking on my Instagram. He's gotten a fat finger every now and then and liked an old pic and then unlike it. And I'm just like, so you're gonna watch your son grow up from afar? It's just weird, you know? And people always ask me, like, oh, what if he decided to come back in your life and stuff? I've never been the type to be like, oh, well, I'm gonna withhold him from his child. At the end of the day, I would have my son if it wasn't for him. Would I have supervised visits and stuff? Absolutely. Like, you're not just going to come and start calling the shots and whatnot. But, you know, I would never withhold him from, like, seeing his son and getting to know him. But at the end of the day, as it stands, he wants nothing to do with him. He doesn't call him. We don't talk at all. Like, at all. So, you know, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. I'm grateful. I'm still blessed. God has sent a lot of people along the journey to intercede, whether it's through a church or just support through YouTube and Instagram. And of course, like I said, my mom and my sister, my brother and my dad, even though he has dementia now and stuff. But, you know, I'm just grateful. So if you're a single mother out there and maybe your situation is more volatile, just know, like, there's a silver lining out there, and God gave you that child for a reason, and your child has a purpose, and your child is not here in vain. So keep up the good work. Yes, you might not have all your ducks in a row. Yes, you might be struggling to make $1 or 50 cents, but at the end of the day, God bless you with that child for a reason, and that child has a purpose in your life and in their lives. And just keep putting in the work. Keep, you know, speaking positivity over your child. Keep praying over them, and it will be all right, you know. And if you need a mommy friend, hey, slide in my DMs, hit me up. We could chat. We could chop it up. You know, I like to meet other moms, especially single moms. That's why I share my stories so transparently, because I want to encourage you guys and show you guys, like, I'm still figuring it out. I'm in my 30s. My life looks nothing like what I thought it would look like right now. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. I'm enjoying the journey. And this little guy right here is everything to me. So that's all I have for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. The story about the co-star here, my little influencer. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you guys on the next video. Love you guys. Bye.